everyone, today I'm going to cover Chapter 11 in Conflict Management and Resolution. The chapter is about the reconciliation. The slide presentation exists as the following content. The first slide will be talking briefly about the reconciliation, and after that followed by the property of reconciliation, step toward overcoming past enmity, restorative practice, path to healing, empathy with suffering of the other, and empowerment through cultural work. And we'll be ending with the short conclusion of the reconciliation. The reconciliation is rather a new field of conflict resolution. There is no standard definition that can be relied on. Reconciliation is not just an important but the most critical in any conflict. When the conflict is resolved, relationship changes are necessary to remove negative emotion residue that can ignite the future. The reconciliation is matters because the consequences of not reconciling can be your enormous in the negative way. In overcoming violence and rebuilding peaceful relations, fractured social bonds need to be restructured, resetting people's expectation of themselves and others. So it means that after the broken relationship, those broken need to be repaired in a way to find a better solution to live in the harmony together again after the violent conflict in the societies. So let's move to the property of reconciliation. Reconciliation activity need to be set in the context of overcoming marginalization, alienation, and other psychological and social effects of the violence. The most important thing in order to make the reconciliation is the appreciation of common humanity and respect for each other's identity. And the reconciliation can reflect the role shift from being blamed to taking responsibility for attitude and action of oneself and one's community. By changing the psychological basis of violent conflict, reconciliation is supposed to remove the source of current and future animosities and tension in order to move forward from the past loss to the new future together. And the next one is about the step toward overcoming the past enmity. To prevent the cycle of historical enmity, require overcoming the past history of the conflict relationship. Restoration of a broken relationship is made possible by acknowledging past misdeeds, exploring common purposes, and respecting the different interests. Expressing of remorse and apology are essential to ending a long-term resentment. That's why acknowledging and forgiveness is very important to overcome the past hostility. Apology is an initial step toward healing of memory through not forgetting and moving on from us and them to become us, moving from human wrong to human right and responsibility. And the confession is the authentic acknowledgement of bearing responsibility for one's act and their consequences. And the forgiveness can bring about the benevolent acceptance which restore neutrality by redressing past power differentials fail and the wrongdoings. As for the post-conflict justice, is the justice through the truth-seeking by the legal system. And restitution and reparation is another practice in order to overcome the past hostility. And reparation or repayment or reparation, as well as the compensation for loss, are ways to acknowledging the wrongful acts and restore justice. Reparation seeks social restoration by apologize and restitution. Most commonly, reparation entails the obligation of perpetrator to make the restitution by giving up their gain of the conflict. And the tension between justice and forgiveness is about most people feel uneasy about offering forgiveness prior to satisfying the demands of the justice. I mean that some people that want to forgive to the other party, but they seem uncomfortable about the forgiveness because of they haven't received any satisfying justice to reconcile their feeling. The next practice is about the restorative practice. Restorative practice is to manage conflict and tensions by repairing harm through educational, counseling, social work, or organizational management. The restorative practice is concerned with not only repairing the harm done by an offense but also proactively build a new relationship. Thus, its main focus is not only on responsibility for the past acts but also on prospect for co-creation of the future steps. Primary stakeholders in the restorative practice are the victims, offenders, and their network of cares. The aim are connecting among individuals and redeveloping the communities. A restorative practice consists of victim-offender mediation, so-called conferences. Victim-offender mediation offers an opportunity for victims to speak their feelings and pain incurred by offenders' action. And an offender listen and eventually to respond to victims' statement and feeling, and this is called the restorative circle. In a restorative circle, participants speak around the circle as many times as necessary before all participants and said everything they wanted. The ritual of a traditional circle creates an atmosphere which enhances collective understanding and development of the steps for healing and prevention of the future incident. In conferencing, in contrast with the counseling or a mediation process, conferencing adopts forthright problem-solving strategy as well as promotion of a healing. Restorative conference with wide circle of participants is designed to explore ways to tackle wrongdoing in various settings. The conference facilitators keep statement focused on the offender's deed, thoughts, and feelings, as well as the perspective and experiences of the victim and their families and member. And empowerment and humanization. A well-managed reconciliation process invigorates give give energy to change for the betterment and empowerment of a community or organizational members. It provides an opportunity to hear the voice of the oppressed side with the involvement of wider social sector beyond its elite negotiation. What is important to the victim is clearly express their perspective and feeling so that the perpetrator know that what is important for those who suffer from unjust treatment. The empowerment of the vulnerable for a better chance of obtaining equitable conflict outcome is developed and by a sense of fairness. So that's all for the restorative practice. So let's move to the path to healing. Healing start from the confess. Healing start from the confession of guilt and acceptance of responsibility for past wrong by perpetrators, so that the victim of trauma can regain a sense of the normal life. A psychological, again, unexpected emotional loss and a mental pain stem from adhering to such social institutes as family and community support networks. And in order to, there are two practice in order to get over from the past to move to the future. First is mourning losses. Grieving loss is essential to victims who want to move beyond the past loss and look to the future. Mourning loss is also the vital step toward riding over suffering of one's own group. The failure of mourning loss, the victim's self-esteem bound up with the image of what has been lost in the past, looking for the future circumstance of revenge. So it means for the victim that have to move forward from the past loss in order to look forward to the new start in for the future. For the remembrance is the general feeling of justice that can be obtained in the historical and restorative sense by museum, monuments, and the other installation like book or the film and something like that, in a way to remember the past event. And so let's move together with the empathy of the suffering of the other. The empathy with the suffering of one's enemy is scarce commodity during the violent conflicts in the aftermath. The perpetrator and those who bear their legacy may tightly cling to defensive posture in order to avoid feeling of guilt and shame, usually interfering with the compassionate response and flexible thinking. In healing, avoiding harmful statements or acts, especially by perpetrator side, is helpful for a better solution. Speaking out mind, listening seriously, and remaining reasonable to the possible accommodation are basic conditions for empathy. Understanding the feeling of the victim permits the situation to be seen from their perspective. And through the attentive listening, participants in dialogue can demonstrate their respect for each other. So the most important thing in this practice is speak and listening for a better solution. So let's move to the empowerment through cultural work. The arts and cultural work can be crafted to remind people of humanity of their adversaries, and diverse artistic forms or media can be crafted in diminishing the defense that adversaries have against listening to each other's story. Poem, film, exhibition, and novel can be mediate story as part of effort to supplement or restore impaired communication capacity. A community ritual and art influence an unconscious domain of human minds and contributing to the transformation of desire to revenge into a desire to affiliation. Emotional wisdom can be tapped by ritual and art. So that's why the role of art is very important in a way to end the conflict. This all for the this point. So let's move to the conclusion of the reconciliation. As we can, after the above presentation, we can see that there are two main elements in the reconciliation. The first one is the conversion, which has three components in this point. The conversion refer to a change of a heart and reorientation of one's life. That consists of the three components. Like the first one, the contrition, the feeling sorry for what they did, and the confession. After they feeling sorry for what they did, they confess their guilt and then the correction, making amends for their wrongdoing and going forth and feeling for the change. And the forgiveness is a willing of the willing of the victim to let go of the desire to revenge and find and instead seek what is truly the best for themselves is to the person for being given. The main point of the reconciliation is that the reconciliation can't occur unless a person is sincerely sorry for his or her wrongdoing. So that we can conclude that the main point of reconciliation is the forgiveness. So that's all for my presentation. To finish, thank you for attention. Goodbye. Have a good day.